Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live stream we've got going on today. Yes, we're doing Facebook and LinkedIn, first time on LinkedIn. Very excited, been waiting for this day for a long time. We've got over all the technical issues to start with, and now we're here going hard, going to bring you some great conversation today. And I am joined all the way from Norway. We don't do things by halves here at Glass A Media, by James Froman. How you doing, James?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How is everything in Norway today?
Yeah, it's not as sunny as yesterday, but we'll take it as it goes, really.
Well, we're quite level because as we were chatting yesterday, you said you had a bit of sunshine and it
Oh,
was
it was
quite bleak over
amazing.
here. But we've got a very cloudy day today, so there's going to be no issue with glare coming in from our window and dancing across my face. So don't worry about that. Perfect lighting as we go.
That's
Fantastic.
what I
Very
look for.
excited about that. But that brings us into what we're going to chat about. As you might have seen from the title of this video, we're going to go for quite a general, far-reaching topic today, which might sound a bit broad for everyone, but don't worry, we're going to break it down and give some very simple tips on basically what makes a good video. So obviously there's loads of different types of video, but things like this, live streams, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, video is now becoming more and more popular and useful for marketing across there, whether it be for your business or for your personal brand. There's loads of different ways to utilize video, and going from small scale to big scale, larger videos, they all have the uses, and we're going to talk about that today. But we'll break it down into different things. We're going to chat about the technical aspects, but we're also going to chat about what you can do to make an effective video across different platforms. And how we'll start with this is in three ways. We'll talk about planning, we'll talk about the actual execution, and then the delivery of videos. And it's a good job we've got a tech expert with us today in the way of James, because I can waffle on about videos all day, but you might not get any value out of it. So James is going to cut in with some actual useful information and let you all know what you should be doing with your videos. So I think we'll start off with the planning. So the first thing I would say, James, with a video is it's really important to know exactly what you want to get out of the video, and then what you want to do with the video. Because it's very easy to go, okay, let's film a video, get a camera crew in, let's show off our company. But so many times when I've spoken to people who've done that or want that doing, they don't have an idea of what they want to get out of the video. And you can throw loads of money at it, get loads of nice footage, but at the end you have a video put together and then you're like, well, okay, it shows off our office and our business, but we didn't actually know the message we were going to go with. So for me, I'd say that planning phase straight away of knowing what you want to achieve with the video is very important. What would you say in terms of when it comes to planning is an important thing to look at when you go into then executing the video?
Yeah, I think it definitely is important to know where you're delivering it. Whether you're delivering it for television, where you're delivering it online, social media, because that will really influence how you film it, and that how you film it affects everything further down the line
Yeah.
at that point. So I really, whenever I come in to sort of prep a job and sort of work with everyone to get the content together, it's always knowing what's the delivery, what's the end use case.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I think that's a good point you say there about where it's going to be used. So I've talked straight away there about social media, and of course that is a really popular platform and very useful in social media marketing. But that is, of course, not the only use for video. And it is also worth bearing in mind that, okay, like you said, if your aim is TV, this is a TV advert, it doesn't mean it can't be utilized in different formats. So it's worth having to sit down and thinking about, okay, we want a TV advert here, but how can we break it down for different uses? Because that will affect how it is shot as well. So my big thing is that I'll always suggest is, say you just want one set piece video that's going to be used, maybe a big corporate video for an event, or whether it be for TV. If you then think, oh, we want to repurpose this and get more out of it for social media, that might tweak how you film it on the day, because it might mean, oh, you
yeah,
spend a few
100%.
hours just doing a bit more casual, informal footage that's going to be useful for social media. Would you say it's worth having that kind of discussion within your company or your brand before you do it, to actually plan that out before you go into the shoot?
Yeah, I used to shoot weddings,
Okay.
and when I shot weddings, I always said to people, I'm like, I shoot every wedding exactly the same way. Whether you've gone for a feature, a highlight, I always shot them all the same way. Because further down the line, I always knew that someone would come along and go, "Oh, actually, could we get a? I know we didn't want a highlight, but can we get a highlight?"
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, I know that I've got the right amount of footage and right amount of planning, everything to get all of that footage done
Sure.
and deliver that end video. So realistically, it's always important to go in with going, you always want to shoot more than you need, I would say, because
Yeah.
then you're covered, and you're also not just covering yourself, you're covering the client at the end of the day for their needs as well.
Yeah, and I think also adding on to that, from a client's perspective, whether you're a business or a brand, if you're going into it with all these additional ideas, thinking about how you are going to deliver that video, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and money in the long term. Because if you then say to the production company, or whether it just be one videographer, no matter how you've got the setup, is okay, we do want this one set piece video, but down the line, we might want a series of social ads that we can put together, or we might want to run a YouTube series. And yes, in the short term, they might be like, okay, let's spend an extra day doing a bit of filming, but that content will last you a lot longer. You won't have to come back to it. And like you said there, if you are shooting more yourself, often is the case where a client will come back to you and say, oh, actually, can you do this, this, and this? And if you've not already shot that, the client's got to then pay for a new shoot to be set up. And that's where the costs lie. I mean, as we both will know, setting up a shoot, it's not a very simple task. A lot goes into it. So that is why I would always encourage, make sure you get the most out of it. And all it takes that extra little bit of planning to think, okay, where might we use this beyond the initial production of the video in 6 months, where we want to run another campaign similar to this? Yes, let's think about that. So that's what I'd say in terms of planning on that front. Also, I just want to kind of move in there with social media, because obviously we're chatting about this on LinkedIn, we're talking about it on Facebook as well. So it'd be rude not to give them a nod. And I want to go on to the repurposing of content as well. And we will touch upon a bit more in the editing phase. But in terms of planning, I think you could go you can go wrong if you don't think about this in advance, and even put more planning than you might initially think. Go to the level of thinking about, okay, we might have this campaign in 3 months. Let's not just get the footage for it, but let's actually plan out what we want to see. Because we found increasingly going into productions, going into projects and different jobs, is that the more detailed the plan is, the better chance you've got of getting that. And it actually allows you to be more creative. As many people across different businesses will say, a tight brief can give you a lot of freedom. You might initially think, just go in and do what you think and play around, and you're going to get a good end result. But if you know exactly what you want to get out of it, and you know how that's going to be shot, number one, you're going to get the end products a lot quicker because you're not messing about doing other stuff. Number two, you're hiring someone who's got expertise in that, whether it be yourself, James, whether it be us, whether it be a different video production company, whether you do it in-house, you know that person's got the expertise in it, so they're going to get what you want. And if you're doing that, you're going to get better quality. It's going to be done quicker. And then you do have more time to experiment with different things and play around with different content once you've done that. Would you say that you find from experience, when you've got a bit of a tighter brief with better planning, it allows the production to go a lot quicker and more effective once you get in there?
Oh, 100%. If I have a sort of a tight brief, I know what I'm going in for. I know the shots I need. I know what I need to achieve with it. I'll, you know, I'll push and just get it through, get it done, sort of thing. There's no, there's no, there's no room for a sort of issues to arise that won't have been planned for when it's a tight brief. So you can just go in and shoot what you need to get shot. And then it's like you say, there is, depending on what you're shooting, obviously, and the length of that, but if you're going in with a tight brief, sometimes it is nice to just grab that extra shot that isn't on the brief that you're like, oh, I'm here right now. That's the classic with video production.
Yeah.
It's, oh, I'm here right now. I need to see this now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. That's a great shot. I'll just grab it real quick. It will take 5 minutes. We're ahead of schedule. Let's keep going.
So what would you say then? So you said it's very beneficial to have that tight brief. If you're speaking with a client or if you're looking at it from the perspective of a client and you want to make sure you're getting the most out of a shoot, what are the main things that you'd want to hear as the person leading the shoot or filming to make sure that you do get everything that your client wants?
I just like to be informed.
Yeah.
Like, what I've found often is you'll make this video, and then 5 months down the line, they'll say, "Oh, we want to turn it into a different thing." It's like, "Oh, well, why didn't you say that at the time?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't planned at the time, maybe lots of different factors. But if you think about it at the time, you should just let your crew know that that's the plan. Because
Yeah.
then, then the crew's on your side. We're there to deliver your vision at the end of the day, so
Mhm.
we're there to help.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. And I think often, especially with something which involves a lot of technical skill, and I think of this from our perspective as a business when we're working with people that have skills that aren't our speciality, you can often be a little bit overwhelmed by the idea of, okay, they're the experts, just give them a bit of info, let them do their thing. Anything I provide to them would probably overcomplicating things. But I'd probably say, in line with what you said, it's actually the opposite. The more information you can give the crew, the production team, or whoever's in the process of planning the video, even if it does become irrelevant in the long term,
Yeah.
it's all showing exactly what you want to get out of the video. And at the end of the day, yes, we're in the business of making videos, setting up shoots, the technical aspect. But the aim, especially for business and brands, is you want to communicate your message with your audience, with your clients and customers. So that's what it's
100%.
doing. The video is just the vehicle to sharing that message. So the more information you can give in terms of that, I'd say is very useful. And that's when you'll get those videos that will really connect and will at the same time, be visually stunning, because we only make stunning videos here, as you know, James. Anyway, moving on a little bit to on set, we've kind of talked a bit more generally about shooting here and filming videos and maybe alluded to bigger productions, but by no means does something have to be a TV standard to be useful, especially on social media, running different ad campaigns, whether it be paid or across organic channels. What I would ask you straight away, James, on a smaller budget, so if a company is only, they don't have a massive marketing budget or they just want to dip the toe in the water of video production, what would you say are kind of very useful technical bits of advice just to make sure straight away a video is stepping up its professional look, whether that be simple bits of lighting or camera equipment?
So I would always say content trumps quality
Okay.
at any stage, and I know it's gonna sound weird. Well, I live as a camera guy, but
Yeah. Yeah.
audio is more important than the camera,
Okay.
like 80% of the time, um, for sure. And then, lighting, you need to be lit, obviously. So if you have a big sort of soft light hitting you, that's always the ideal point. And you can do that literally by standing next to a window on an overcast day or next to a window with a white curtain. Just
Mhm.
that will diffuse the light nicely. Audio wise, I would get like you can get these like lapel mics that plug straight into your phone. And I would just do that. Just clip it on and you'll get 90% better audio
Yeah.
than just from your iPhone or whatever.
Yeah, and I think there's a good
Um,
point with the audio there. Just jump on that, is because that's something that we'd learn very early on, is when you get more clients kind of saying, okay, we want a visually attractive video, we want it to look nice, but we want a bit of audio in there. But don't worry about that too much. But when you don't pay attention to the audio and you just put something together, it stands out so much. And this even applies to the small level. Even if you're just running a personal brand, for example, and you want to put some YouTube videos out there where, like us, you're just talking to camera, explaining something about yourself, something as very simple, like you said, as doesn't even have to be a high-end microphone, but just something, a lapel mic you can clip on that's got a bit more quality than would be directly coming through your camera, makes so much difference. And it's those little things, it's working in those margins. You don't need to go and think the massive step up to the camera of a huge more quality unless that is directly what's linked to it. So yeah, I think that's a really good point there. And also with the lighting, what were you going to add to that? Sorry, James.
No, it's just it's that whole package together, and when that sort of happens, then it comes into the editing, and but it's also knowing where you're delivering again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people say, you know, you got people who are like, oh, I have to film it horizontal or vertical. Which one should I do?
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you're delivering on social, then you're probably actually fine with vertical.
Yeah.
But if you're delivering on YouTube or anywhere like that, I wouldn't go for that vertical look,
Yeah,
personally.
absolutely. And again, that all ties into what we said before about planning, how important that is. And the more we go through this, you'll understand, everyone who's watching this, just how important the planning is, because then it doesn't just seep into the delivery and also the content, but it actually seeps into this direct technical aspect of what you're filming and what you're producing on the day.
Can I give a little example of
Yeah, of course.
where you can see that pretty well? So I was on a shoot, and we were delivering for both. The end goal was to deliver both horizontal videos, so 1920 by 1080, and vertical video
Okay.
at the same time. So that affected the camera choice we chose, because we obviously needed more resolution to be able to do the vertical by shooting horizontal.
Yeah, sure.
And on top of that, you're looking at framing. You know, you have to frame everyone to work both in horizontal and look good, but also you have to film them in a way that when you crop it, they'll still work in a vertical way.
Yeah.
So, but by knowing that, you can put the plans in place.
Of course, because then you're in a position if afterwards, whoever's wants the video producing is like, oh, can you do it in this format? Well, it's not going to be optimized in terms of how it's shot. Okay, you might be able to do it technically, but it's not going to be as effective as a video. No, that's a really good point, and that is something again to bear in mind when you're having to think about if you're delivering on social. How are you delivering it? Are you doing it square? Are you doing it portrait? Is it landscape? Because that will affect how it's shot. It's just not a matter of cropping it down like that. Something I would like to add as well is, and this kind of ties in with planning, but it's more in line of preparation. And that comes down to so many different elements. Yes, the planning helps whoever's making the video in terms of what technical aspects are needed, but preparation's so important when it comes to spoken parts, for example, pieces to camera or interviews, because yes, it's a great technique sometimes just to have a few bullet points and riff off that. But if the style of video, which many corporate videos are, and is still and will be an effective video where someone's speaking to camera or someone is speaking just off camera, where they want to deliver a very specific message, if you've not prepared that message before the day, there's two issues you're going to have. The obvious one is it's going to take longer. If you're willing to take the time, that's fine. And I understand that some people are happy to spend a day doing one interview, no worries. But I think the more important thing is how it's going to come across on camera. It's not just a matter of sitting there and reading the script, as a lot of people may want to just read it from the script, fine. But you want to get the feel. The point of doing the video is to get the emotion across.
You need to know the message, though. Like, because if you can film so many interviews, and if the person filming, so myself or the director or whoever, isn't aware of the message that you're trying to get across, it can just not happen. Because if the message doesn't come across in the interview, then and you walk away and you get to the edit and you put it together and the client goes, well, where's our message? Well, you didn't have it. It didn't come across in conversation.
Yeah, and that completely makes sense. And so that is a very important thing to do in preparation. It's not just planning and knowing the message yourself. It's ensuring that the crew or whoever's filming know that, but the person on camera knows that as well. And it is tricky in many scenarios because a lot of videos like that are involving just staff members, team members who work somewhere. They're not actors. They're not used to being in front of camera. But that makes so much difference. Just a little bit of preparation, knowing what you want to say and what you want to convey going into it. Because like I said before, video is about mood and emotion. And the reason that you're doing a video is to communicate a message with more emotion than it would in a document, for example, or just an audio piece. So to make sure you get the most out of that, that's definitely one big tip I'd say is make sure that you prepared whoever's on camera, whether it be a spoken part or whether it's just people who are appearing in it, know what is the message you want to get across. Something else as simple as if it's B-roll, just general footage that's in there. If you want your team members or your staff on there, make sure they know the message of this is a positive, happy message that you're sharing, because it could just be a matter of, and I've seen this happen on many occasions, oh, we just want to get shots of the staff working. Great. But if they just sat at the desk typing away, but the message of the video is, oh, look at us, we have a great time at work and everybody's really happy, those things don't go together. So you're actually countering your own message there. So little things like that, make sure everyone who's involved with the video is prepared for what they're going to do.
Just let them know that they're going to be in the video as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd add that. And I think that covers some nice tips there from things to bear in mind when you're actually filming. And this applies for smaller productions and bigger productions. Like you said, James, the content and the story and the message of it is more important than the technical element. Yeah. Technical comes into it when you want to deliver it in a certain way, or you're trying to share a certain image of yourself, or you need to capture certain things in a certain way. But for most businesses who want to start using video or increase their use of video, you want to capture a message. So make sure that is in there in the planning phase and also when you're executing it during filming and the production. So let's move on to a bit in the editing and distribution stage of your videos. When you're putting them out there, when you're creating them through the editing, I'll ask you from a bit of a technical point. Again, very similar to what I said when it actually comes to filming, but from an editing perspective, what is very useful for you to have, or an editor that you're working with, from the client to make sure the edit comes out in the best way possible?
One thing I always ask, and if they have it, it's amazing, is sort of a branding document. You know, how they represent their company, what's their voice, what are the colors, obviously, if I need to add any animations and so on, or a bit of aid in the color grade. But yeah, to get to know the company and get to know how they interact with their potential clients, potential customers, so that that voice can be transmitted through the editing. You know, if you're a calm and collected organization that's like very straightforward by the book, you don't need like a high-paced, very quick, snappy, extreme sports style video. But if you're an extreme sports company, you don't want a slow, calm, collected piece. Of course. So it's knowing the industry, knowing how they communicate for the edit.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very good point. And again, tying in what we said before in planning, but it's sharing as much information about yourself and what you want to achieve as possible. Again, it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking this person is the expert and they've got the technical knowledge. They'll know the best way of doing it. But this kind of mindset applies to all kind of expert skills. If you want someone to redesign your house, you wouldn't just go, oh, they're an expert, crack on. There's 20 grand, go and decorate, build whatever you need to. You'd share with them what you liked, what you wanted your home to be like, what kind of person you were. And it's exactly the same when it comes to this. So in the editing phase, you know, a video can change so much in the editing phase. As we talk, I think a good example to bring up here is the short film that we made this year, is that it changed quite a lot in the editing. We had an initial plan for it, but we felt as it went, the edit changed the story. So it shows just the power of what an edit can do. So don't think once a video's filmed, it just comes out as you think it is. So I think what you said there, the branding, whether it be just a very basic idea of sharing brand guidelines, as if you were working with a web designer or anything like that, brand guidelines, brand information, anything like that straight away is very helpful. But also sharing who you are as a brand, whether this just is examples of other content you've put out there or your message or what you're trying to convey, because they're the two things.
Even like, what's the mood? Yes. Obviously, you should have that before even shooting, but like make sure it gets to the editing process. It doesn't just stop it. Okay, the people who are shooting it know, so they've shot it. It's fine now. Make sure it gets to the editor and continues down the stream with it. for the
Yeah.
consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about making sure that you see it through to the end, not just you've seen the work go in. Obviously, with the cameras, everyone can see what's going on there, but you can always see what's going on in the editing phase. But that is as
Yeah.
important, if not more, in crafting the message of your video. So, yeah, for sure. And I'd also say, just picking up from what I mentioned there in terms of sharing your brand feel, your company message, is that the video is two things. Yes, you're trying to hit the technical aspects of if the brief is a 1 minute video showing an overview of what your company's done in the last year. Yes, you need to technically hit that. But at the same time, you need to feel the emotion, convey the emotion. So
Make
it's
it
as important
engaging.
to share. Yeah, exactly. So sharing your brand guidelines are as important as sharing your brand message and feel with who you're working with. And that's what's
Uh,
great about building up a longer term relationship with whether it be a videographer or a production company, is that you get the feel of the company and the brand, and you can more effectively get that message shared through your videos.
Yeah, no, something I just wanted to add to that is maybe you've shot an interview. It's come across great with the audio, the text is perfect, but it's a heavy subject.
Yeah.
It's a sort of a hard to comprehend subject. Maybe in the edit you get to a point and you go, actually, I might just replace this with an animation.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll keep the audio, keep the interview audio, but I'm just going to cover it up with a simple graphic to just show visually what the interviewee's talking about, just to make it easier to digest. That's the sort of things that, it doesn't, if you've got all of the information in front of you, you don't have to like worry about that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can just go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm. No, that completely makes sense, and that again comes into sorry, when you are thinking about speaking with whether it was a production company or the videographer, is that those two stages of filming and editing are very different things. They're very different skills, but it's also the phase in crafting your video. So looking at those things as one can be a little bit dangerous because you want to make sure you're applying different things in each element. So I think what you said there, yeah, is bob on for sure. What I wanted to then just move on to now is, can you believe it? We've been chatting for nearly half an hour already.
What, really?
Um, is that the distribution of the content? And one of my, I'm going to have, I've reined myself in from getting on a rant, but I'm going to just give one little gripe of mine straight away, is that not using video content to its full potential is so frustrating when this is in many ways the easiest part of the process. So, of course, we all know video is being increasingly used across loads of different ways. Yes, you can get loads of use out of it, but it's not as simple as just making a video, doing it, and then just kind of putting it in whatever way you thought you put it out there, and it's going to do amazingly. It's like with any bit of marketing or any form of content you do out there, you've got to think about who you want to get it to, and also you've got to think of the technical element of how it's distributed. So this comes back to right at the beginning of the conversation where we're saying planning on how you're going to deliver it. It's being clever but also sensible in thinking, how can I get the most out of this content? And content repurposing gets talked a lot about by content marketers who do really well, and that can be in terms of their blogs and using those in different ways, but the same applies for video. So how the easy way of looking at this for me is at the beginning is, if you have one idea in mind for a video, let's use the example I've already mentioned of a 60-second company overview for 2020, for example. Probably a bad year to give an example for, because you might not have all that much to show. But let's just live in the dreamland where loads went on this year and you've got plenty to show off in a video. So you've got your overview video right away there, 60 seconds. The natural instinct might be, that's the video I've created. Okay, we have a YouTube channel. We'll put it on there. We'll put it on our website. We'll email our clients and let them know. And then we'll post it on Facebook. Great. And people will see it and think, fantastic. But then you're like, it can quickly disappear. And if it doesn't kick off straight away, people can be disappointed. And so rightly so, because that's not the best way to get traction out of your video. So on a technical perspective, straight away of the repurposing format, you need to think, how can you break this video down and use it in a more long-term way? So yeah, post it out, do all that. But from a longer video, you can straight away break it down into multiple short ones. So whether that just be a shorter version of that video you can use on different ways, whether it be in an ad campaign on Facebook, you've got a 10, 15-second version, whether it be just posting it as a teaser on different platforms and doing those over the course of a month, or, and this when it comes to planning again, speaking with who you're working with, and in the editing phase, actually creating 3 or 4 individual videos out of that footage. So they might be individual 15, 20-second ones, but they're all tailored slightly differently to give a little message off the back of that. So straight away, off this one video, you've got maybe 4 different mini videos, but then they're all tailored towards different platforms, whether that be optimizing different square, portrait, as we discussed. If you plan that beforehand, you can do that. So you've got loads of content to put straight away. Then if you do the voiceovers, or whether it be an interview, you've got audio you can take from that, and you can use that in whatever way you want to, put in different messages, put it over different graphics. So you've got plenty to use there. But then also thinking, what is the long-term use of this? And this is where we look at paid advertising as well. And video is so effective when it comes to Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, YouTube ads, and things like that. So you can cut your campaign, which would be an organic campaign, into these shorter snippets. Think of the key message for there and use them over the space of a month or a few months. So straight away from what seemed like a project of us spending a week making a video, which was just going to be sent out to some of our clients, said, look what we did. You've actually got a piece of marketing content out there, which is saving you money for all your other marketing content. And you can start getting a return on that investment. That's not just a pretty video, which looks nice, but is not getting anything in. So that's my rant over there. My big tips that will round off from it is that definitely think about the long term of what you can do with your video. But there's so many more options out there that you may not have discovered straight away in terms of repurposing your content, which means video can act as so many different things in terms of your marketing. Yeah. James, have you had kind of any experience where you found that useful to do in terms of chopping videos into different versions or using them in multiple ways?
Yeah, and I had a recent one where I was asked to deliver a Facebook ad. I delivered a Facebook ad, but I also delivered a vertical version of the Facebook ad. And they were sort of surprised. And it was a case of, they're like, well, we asked you for just a Facebook. I'm like, well, Facebook stories is a thing.
Yeah.
And Instagram stories, and it goes on Instagram as well. Like, they're, at the end of the day, it's the same company, isn't it? So it just made sense to deliver this as well.
Sure.
Like, because if you're putting it out there, I would say, depending on the client and all that, in their case, I believe that Facebook stories was more of the way they should go with their paid marketing.
Yeah.
And having two videos running at the same time, it's just increasing sort of your span and the amount of times you can hit sort of people with it to make them aware of your message.
Yeah, exactly. And from a very business and financial viewpoint on that, it's getting the most out of your investment. You're spending money.
It was the same video. It was exactly the same video. It was just me adapting it for a different space.
And I think that's the key. It's about adapting and repurposing. And as you mentioned there on Facebook ads, now you can put different versions of the same piece of content in different dimensions to be used across that. Like you said, stories, square is a very useful dimension as well, because it takes up a lot of the newsfeed. It takes up more of the newsfeed than landscape. I'm going to say rectangle there. Landscape.
then rectangle video.
Really gone back on my terminology here. Then landscape would, as obviously the taller dimensions, and it fits how a newsfeed would do. So having all these different uses not only gives you multiple videos to target in different ways, but as you said, it hits more people. And especially in a paid campaign, I think that's exactly what you should be doing. And I'd also add as well, LinkedIn have got LinkedIn stories now. So if you're watching this and thinking, okay, Facebook, Instagram, it might be for clothing brands, it might be for products, it's not for B2B business. Well, I think there's a lot of scope on Facebook that for anyway, but LinkedIn have got increasing opportunities to use video in effective ways now, whether that be in the LinkedIn stories or within their ad campaigns or just organic. LinkedIn keep giving more organic reach to video content now as they're trying to catch up with the likes of Facebook and Instagram in their use of video. So get it out there, post it organically, because there's plenty to be done in that sense. You know what, James? We've been speaking for over half an hour now, and I think we've touched on some very good points.
Yeah, for sure.
Just to round up, the main things that we said were planning is so important when it comes to what makes a good video. Make sure that above all else, you know the message that you want to portray in your video or series of videos. You make sure you put thought into what's being said, whether that be the dialogue, the interviews, or whether that be the on-screen text, or just the visuals that are in there, what message you want to get out there. But planning is so important. And also make sure you plan what the video is going to be used for. Because it's very easy to plan a visually appealing video, something that looks great. But if you don't know what you're going to get out of it, if you're running a business or a brand, you need to actually get some return on that. We're always up for making a video that just looks great for the sake of looking great. Don't worry about that. We'll never shy away from a little bit of an artistic endeavor. But for business owners, marketing managers, people running brands, you want to get something out of that video. So making sure you know how you're going to distribute it, who you want to see it, and what message you want to convey to them right from the very beginning is so important, because every stage of producing a video goes back to that plan. And the more you can put in that plan, the more detail you can put in it, the better the video will come out.
100%.
So I'd say they're the main things. Technically, also, we said sound so important. Even if you're doing low budget on your own, speaking in a sense like this, get a good microphone. Doesn't have to be anything massive, don't have to be anything ridiculous, but increase the audio quality and things will go up so much. And one thing I didn't add is that subtitles on videos now, if you're using them on social, very important. I think the stat is that gets thrown around so much is 80% of Facebook videos are watched without sound. So make sure you're getting those subtitles. Just a little trick there to get on, because that'll help you massively. James, do you want to add anything to that to round us off?
No, I think it's just what we've said, really. All down to communication.
Absolutely.
If everyone knows the goal, everyone can aim for the goal, and you'll reach it. And yeah, just create good content, really.
Bro, and that's the main thing in it. Keep creating good content. And that's what we continue to do. That's what James is doing over in Norway. What we're doing here at Glassé Media over in the UK, producing good content and making sure that what we produce is obviously visually stunning, as I said earlier, but also is effective and is going to get the job done in the best way possible. Well, let's round it off there. Thank you very much, James, for beaming in from Norway. It's been an absolute pleasure for our first dip of the toe into the waters of LinkedIn Live. And I'm sure we'll be back on there very soon, chatting about all things video related. Thank you for anyone who's checked it out. We'll keep these up on Facebook and LinkedIn for you to watch later. And we'll be doing more of these conversations in the coming weeks. So goodbye from me. Thank you very much, James. Enjoy the rest of your day and week, and we will speak to everyone again very soon. See you later.
See you soon.